Okay everyone, this is Kevin with Divinely Designed, and this is part 2 to the DIY solid lotion bars and solid perfume bars. Now, if you are looking for the basic recipe and how-to guide, you should watch part 1 of this series. Check the link in the description box down below for that video. This video, I won't actually be making anything or showing you how to do anything, but sort of talking through the formulation of the lotion bar, different kinds of molds to use, packaging ideas, those kinds of things. So a lotion bar itself is really just a big chapstick. And you know, when people have been talking about lotion bars and using them, I guess I don't really see the appeal, or I haven't seen the appeal really. It's not like I would want to carry any of these around with me in my pocket. And this is really what I have thought of when I've thought of lotion bars. Are these small handheld things that you would rub together in order to melt them slightly and then put them on your skin. But certainly these are not the only way to do lotion bars. These are just some examples of some of the smaller molds I have used. But as I've been kind of researching and thinking about this, the great thing about lotion bars is that they're super simple, right? You could make these very easily. A lot kind of goes a long way, especially if you're making little tiny ones for sort of individual use. It doesn't take a lot of ingredients to do it. Let's talk about the formula itself. So in part 1, I talked about the basic recipe for a solid lotion bar being 1/3 beeswax, 1/3 hard oils, and 1/3 soft oils, or basically equal parts of each of those things, right? And remember, when I say a part could kind of be anything, as long as it stays the same form of measurement between them. Now, I recommend that you weigh these things on a scale. So I use grams, but you could certainly use ounces. I wouldn't recommend using volume measurements like teaspoons or cups or things like that, simply because the form of whatever you're using could make that amount sort of vary drastically. Now, lotion bars are pretty forgiving, so if you're making a small amount, you could probably get away with measuring by volume. So you could do, a half a cup of beeswax pellets and a half a cup of shea butter and a half a cup of almond oil, let's say. And that would probably turn out just fine. You would get a bar from that, a solid lotion bar. But if you want to be accurate, I would recommend weighing your amounts always by weight, not by volume. So let's talk a little bit about the formula of your lotion bar itself. Now, in the basic video, or in part 1 video, I gave the recipe of 33 grams of beeswax, 33 grams of almond oil, did I use? Yeah, sweet almond oil. And 33 grams total, divided in half, shea butter and cocoa butter. Now, I like the combination of shea butter and cocoa butter and sort of splitting it in half. Shea butter I find very greasy, and cocoa butter is very hard, and I don't find it quite as greasy, I guess, as shea butter. So I like combining the two of those, and that's what the majority of these are down here, I think with the exception of this one. These are all cocoa butter, shea butter, and almond oil. And it gives you a nice bar that you can touch a little bit and it doesn't immediately get your fingers full of oils or things like that, or butters. But with very little effort, by putting it on the warmth of your hands and doing just a little bit of rubbing, it will melt pretty easily and give you a nice amount of melted product so that you can then put that, on your skin. So I like that combination of shea and cocoa. I would say it gives you kind of a medium greasiness to the bar itself. I think if you went with all shea butter, you'd get a very greasy bar. I also tend to like the lighter oils for this. So something like an almond oil or, let's see, rosehip oil maybe, or avocado oil, things like that. If you wanted, again, a very sort of greasier oil, I would, you could certainly choose whichever oils that you think work best here. And I think that's the other great thing about this is the amount that you can sort of control what the ultimate formula is here. So the majority of these, like I said, are combinations of shea and cocoa, almond oil, and beeswax. But you could change these. So in the back, I've done some experimenting here. So you could switch out kind of your favorite oil and put that in here. So in this one over here, this is sort of the same recipe. It's 33 grams of a hard oil, which I split between the shea and cocoa, a third beeswax, but the oil I switched out in this one for babasu. Now this, I've tried all of these, so I'm not going to try them right now just because I'm trying to keep my hands a little less greasy, but this makes a very nice massage bar or lotion bar, but I will tell you the babasu, it doesn't have a very strong fragrance, but it has its own fragrance, so it does change the smell of this lotion bar a little bit. With the majority of these, you're going to get that slight sort of cocoa and shea smell. Cocoa butter has a very chocolatey smell, and shea kind of has kind of an earthy smell to it, but they're very light. I mean, the fragrance, it's their own natural fragrance to them that's very light. I find it very nice. If you wanted to make these with no smell at all, then obviously you're going to choose oils and butters that would help you with that. So using things like deodorized cocoa butter, or deodorized refined shea butter, and then a very light oil like almond oil I think would work here also, if you're really trying to get no smell from them whatsoever. You could certainly go with something that's sort of a very luxury product or market it that, right? So in version 2 here, I have 33% beeswax, 33% rosehip oil, and a 33% of a hard oil, which I've split in half between kokum butter and mango butter, right? So this is my luxury lotion bar here. Again, a very nice bar it made. It's very firm and sort of the same meltability as these other ones. Rosehip oil is supposed to be extremely good for your skin, so I like using rosehip oil. But you could certainly use, your favorite oil. Argan oil, I'm sure, would work really well in a lotion bar. And argan oil is supposed to be very good for your skin as well. Here in 3, what I did was, so far we've really been using beeswax. But you could certainly make this a vegan product if you wanted to. So in 3, I've used candilia wax, which is a wax that's derived from a plant. However, you're going to need to play with your ratios here. And that is, in general, I think, is a statement about kind of what you are trying to achieve with your final product here is playing with your ratios. Since these are so simple to make, I think experimenting is pretty easy. You could just mix up small amounts, melt them in the microwave in a heat-safe container, put them in a little mold, and you can make a couple of different versions of these. For this one, what I've used is I've sort of tried to stay with the standard kind of formula, right? 33, 33, 33, but I've changed this one up a little bit. Candilia wax is super hard, and if you use the same amount of the candilia wax, you would end up with a lotion bar that didn't melt very well. So here I have 33%, well, if we think about this the same way, I have 1 part sweet almond oil, I have 1 part of hard oils, so again I split them between the cocoa and the shea, so that's exactly the same as the recipe that I did all these with. And then for the last part, the wax, instead of using 1 part beeswax, I used half a part of a candilia wax. So half the amount I would normally have used. Instead of a 1 to 1 to 1 ratio, it's a 1 to 1 to half ratio, okay? So the candilia wax, though, when you use it in half the amount, gives you, again, a very nicely meltable bar there that just with little effort, you could rub it into your hands. So that's another option for you. Number 4, now most of these are pretty firm. Like I said, you could pick them up and handle them a little bit without getting too much on your hands. Now, if you have very warm hands, I think they could start to melt. And obviously, this will vary depending on your temperature as well. Right here now in Philadelphia, it's 90 degrees outside, but my house is air conditioned, so everything stays very cool. But if I were to take these outside, obviously they would get a lot warmer and would probably start to melt. So this is a softer version. So again, just thinking about what you want in the final product. If you really want something that's very meltable, and as soon as you sort of pick it up, this one is 1 part coconut oil, 1 part rosehip oil, and then 3/4 of my beeswax. So I reduce the amount of beeswax, and I use coconut oil, which is a very meltable solid oil. So this is a softer version of the lotion bar itself. It's still firm, but as soon as you start to put this on your hand, it will start to melt. And lastly, you could certainly add some other things. Now, if you are not familiar with Susan Nichols' blog, Point of Interest, I would suggest you Google it and check it out. She is a wealth of information when it comes to sort of the science of crafting DIY bath and beauty stuff. So in this version, I have done the standard recipe with beeswax. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is beeswax, rosehip oil, and then my hard oils are cocoa and shea. But the ratios are the same, 1, 1, and 1. But what I have added to this is isopropyl myrcete. Now this will actually help your lotion bar to feel less greasy. It will make it feel a little bit more powder-like. Now, obviously one of the draws of making DIY solid lotion bars is that they're all natural, right? And I'll say all natural in quotes, right? Because there is no official definition of what natural means. But as for all of these here, it's a combination of beeswax, oils, and butters, and that's it. There's nothing else in it. So if, this is certainly, a choice to make, but many people would not consider this all natural anymore if they added this. If they're adding isopropyl myrcete, I don't really have an issue with it. But this does make and you can add this up to 5%. And I get mine from Lotion Crafters. So you would just weigh out your ingredients and then add 5% of the IPM to it. So again, I still have a very solid bar. It melts kind of in the same way that the other ones have, but the final result on your skin is it just feels slightly less greasy. It has more of a kind of powdery feel to it. Now it's not a huge amount of difference, I will say that, because at the end of the day, you're still basically rubbing, butters and oils on your skin. So, but it can change the feel of it just a little bit. Okay, I think that's kind of it for the formula of the DIY solid lotion bars. Let's move on to talking a little bit about the molds that we can use to make our lotion bars, okay? Okay, let's talk a little bit about molds that you could use for your DIY solid lotion bars. Now, there could be a ton of things to use here. These are super forgiving. Again, it is like making basically a lip balm, right? So it becomes solid. It works well in a lot of different molds. Now, certainly these are Wilton candy molds, and I like the basic shapes. So this round shape, and you can get these at AC Moore and Michael's, Joann's. I'm sure you can find them lots of other places. So this round shape, I think, fits very well in the hand. I like the feel of it, sort of when it's in your hand. Certainly they have squares. This one here in the back is from an Etsy shop called Mold House. So it makes these little bars. Very small, kind of single-use ones. These are also a good shape, I think. Certainly all kinds of candy molds. This is a little flower mold I think I got from Hobby Lobby. These are more Wilton molds. This is a little heart with sort of a filigree pattern. This is a candy mold. And these are roses. I think the roses are a great shape. They're small, and again, they're sort of feel good in your hand in that round shape. I think they work well. Certainly you could make much bigger lotion bars if you want to. This is the Brambleberry Silicone Square mold. But, you know, I think almost any kind of soap making mold that's out there, that silicone would work really super well here. If you make a softer lotion bar, just put it in the fridge for, you know, a half an hour, and that'll firm it right up and it'll help you get out of it. You can even use these plastic candy molds. So this is sort of a seashell kind of one. You know, if you use these for soap, it's sometimes really hard to get the soap out of these without, and still get kind of a perfect looking soap, you know, that has the shape of the molds. You can do it, but it's hard, I think, sometimes. But with these, they come out fantastic. So you could make lots of great, cute shapes, because you can get a ton of these, and these are super cheap. I think this was $1. Or maybe $1.50 from where I got it. And then, you know, you can do kind of like unusual things too. This is a silicone mold that I made myself, which is a fleur-de-lis. And I made this mold out of silicone and using this fleur-de-lis kind of thing. So I was able to actually make a lotion bar as a fleur-de-lis. That looks super cool to me. I mean, I really like that. You could certainly use this kind of as a marketing tool if you can find really cool molds. Another one I thought of is, you know, if you could get your logo made into a silicone mold, and certainly there are services out there now that can do it, especially with things like 3D printers. That would be, and make it like a little round disc with your company's logo in it. You could turn your lotion bars into advertising for your company. I think that'd be a super cool idea. You could also do really neat things. Now this is one I was going to play with a little bit. This is also a candy mold. So this is, but it's sort of a clamshell. So you fill it up partially, like halfway, and then you add the top to it and sort of clamp it down, and it makes these cups. It's meant for chocolate. So it makes these chocolate cups that you could fill in. So I made one out of my lotion bar, and you know what I thought would be a cute idea is, now they're a little hard to get out of here. I think what I would have done differently is put this in the freezer and let them firm up really hard, and then try to take it out. But I mean, you know, I got it out just fine. It's just a little messy on the top here. But you know what I thought would be really super cute would be to pipe some body butter like in the middle here and do like a little truffle, right? A little like solid lotion base with body butter in the middle, kind of truffle, and you could sell them like almost like little candies or something for your body. I think that'd be a super cute idea. But again, these are really forgiving. I think any kind of mold that you have is pretty usable. It's a little bit unlike cold process soap, where it's hard to get them out of things like this, or even some of these stiffer silicone molds, depending on your soap recipe. You know, they can be a little bit tough to get out of. But with these, no problem whatsoever. Put them in the fridge or the freezer for just a little bit, firms them right up, super easy to get out of. Now, I will also say, I mentioned, this is sort of more around packaging, but these little plastic cups I got from Target, and they're super cheap. So if you're looking to just make something for yourself, a small amount, and have something that's easily to carry around, this might be a great option because, you know, if you were to just put this, you know, certainly you wouldn't want to put a lotion bar just in your purse, right? That would be so gross. It would just be collecting dust everywhere and be all mushy and melty. But these are great. They come with lids. They're super cheap. You can get, I don't know, it's like a pack of 100 or something for like, I don't know, $2. I forget what they cost, but they're really cheap. And you can pour your lotion bars directly in these things, and then they come out very easily. So I think, you know, even though this isn't really a mold, it certainly could be used that way. So, okay, lots of options for molds, I think. Let's put the molds aside and talk a little bit about packaging. Okay, I think we have lots of options when it comes to packaging for solid lotion bars. Now, if you are doing this for yourself or maybe as a little gift for friends, I think there are lots of things that you could go out there and do that are sort of DIY. The first one I will mention, I think, is these little packages. Now, I got this from my dollar store, so it's 4 for $1. But I know there has been lots of discussion on the Facebook soap forums of the dollar store that has these plastic containers with white lids, and I think they come 10 to a pack for $1. And people were kind of raving about them. Now, I never went and got them, but I didn't really use them for anything, but I hear they are no longer available. But I went to my dollar store just to check it out and see, and I did find these, and so they're 4 to a pack for $1, which is still pretty cheap. I mean, it's 25 cents, but so they're very, you know, easy. They're just plastic little containers with lids that pop off of them. But I think, you know, you could certainly dress them up. So with this one, I just did a little, I did kind of a rustic treatment with a ribbon around it and some twine, and then did a little bit of stamping and paper crafts on the top here. I think that would make just a very simple, cute gift. Not a lot of effort that went into that. This is sort of another version of it. This one I used a alcohol marker. So it's like a Spectrum Noir marker or a Copic marker. And I just used black and colored the whole thing black and added some washi tape here and did kind of a paper flower with a tag and some stamping on it again. And then on the inside, just did a little bit of like decorative paper. Now, the one thing I'll mention about these, you know, because again, a lot has to do with temperature, if you put them that is in something clear like this, I think they're going to look pretty messy. It doesn't even have to be all that warm, but if you leave them in a purse or in a car or something like that, they're going to melt a little and they're going to get smudges on this, and then when you look at it, I think it's just going to look really messy. So if you're going to put them in a container like that, consider using some wax paper. And this is, you know, you get a ton of it if you're doing these. This is from Michael's, I think, that I got it in the cake aisle section. But, you know, you could add that wax paper to your container, and that will help to prevent any kind of smudges or things that would get on the outside and make the container look messy. Okay, so some other DIY ones. This is from Michael's, I want to say. It's a container that has a window on top, and you just pull off. So I think these were about $1.50 per container, and I just added some washi tape. So in this case, I did kind of a very modern kind of treatment on it with gold and pink and black. But again, I think, you know, this is a good option. And I know you can find these online for cheaper if you ordered them kind of in a larger quantity. But even at Michael's, just purchasing one, it was $1.50 for one. So I think that's a pretty good idea. I mentioned these already, these little plastic cups, super cheap. Again, if this is just something for you, this is a great option, I think. These are from SKS bottles. So these are different size containers. I like the amber jars, again, because, you know, if you're doing very small melts in here, or DIY lotion bars, you could put them in here and you won't really see the smudges on the outside. I like this sort of amber, very clean and simple look. This feels a little bit more masculine to me. You know, I think you could certainly use it that. This container, this is a 2-ounce jar with a flat top lid, and it fits those round ones from the Wilton round mold perfectly. This next one is a 4-ounce container, and you could do multiple little ones in here. So here I have some of those seashells and a flower. So you could put multiple small ones inside the container as well. And they certainly come in larger sizes. But I think those smaller sizes do really well. The wax papers, again, also from Michaels or AC Moore or somewhere, but you could do them like little candy treats. I think that's a really cute idea. And you could package these in a little box. The wax paper, again, would help to make sure that you're not getting the butters on paper. This is something from Sustainable Packaging Industries, which is a company, and I use these for my soaps. But these are great clamshell boxes that, again, you could put them in. Now, if you were going to put them in this, though, I would want to make sure they're wrapped in something, because remember, these are basically butter and oil. So if you put them in something that's absorbent like paper, you're going to get grease stains in it. So remember to use something like wax paper where you could put them in here and they would be protected. Something like that. So I think this, or like a DIY box, or, you know, maybe those little, you can get those little Chinese containers, you know, at like the party store, Chinese food containers. You could get those mini ones. They would be really cute to use. This is another kind of DIY option, and I think I was so clever for this. These are actually pill boxes. These are single pill boxes, like travel pill boxes, and I think this works perfect for a DIY solid perfume. So I filled one of these up. You can just use it like that. And for a perfume, since you're really not using that much, you could just leave them in there, use your finger, get some of that solid perfume on there, and then add it to your pulse points, and just go about your day. I think these are a really great idea, so these little pill cases. And then, you know, certainly there's options for kind of the more commercial products out there. Now, I like the idea of using these sort of lip balm-like tubes for solid lotion bars, and especially for solid perfume bars. Because they're super self-contained, you could carry them around and not get messy. These, I kind of love the look of these. These are paper, so they're a very eco-friendly option. You simply push from the bottom, and they're just like a big chapstick or, you know, lip balm kind of tube. These are, I just love them, and you could certainly put a label on these. If you were going to sell a product like this, I think this kind of container, or one of these others here, is the perfect, and you could use, you know, a cute label that would coordinate with this on here. Now, these are a little bit hard to find. I did find them, SKS has them, but with shipping, if you're ordering just these at the smallest quantity, it comes out to like $4 a piece. Now, I got them from the Soap Dish, who had them a little bit better price, so when I got them, they were about $3 a piece. Still kind of pricey, but they're a great kind of eco option, okay? These other two I got from Wholesale Supplies Plus. This is more of a deodorant type container, but another good option for the solid lotion stuff, right? The only problem I feel about this one is people are going to think it's deodorant. I mean, because that's what it looks like. And we're just used to having deodorant in a container like this. But these are great options. This is a 2.25 ounce container. This is a 2-ounce container. I like these actually kind of better because they look so different. But again, it's the same concept. These are just like big humongous chapsticks almost. So these are 2 ounces. These ones here I think are 1 ounce. But these are from Wholesale Supplies Plus, and they come out to be about $1 a piece with the tube and the cap included. Okay. So that's it. I think there are lots of options out there for how you might package stuff. Again, depending on if you're doing it for yourself or you're selling these. Obviously, if you're selling them, you want to have proper labeling on them. So think about those kinds of choices for your packaging purposes. How will you label those things appropriately? If you're doing it DIY, you can go from simple to sort of complex, but lots of different cute options out there. So, okay, I think that's it for this part 2 version of DIY solid lotion and solid perfume. Comments, questions, leave them below. If you have a suggestion for a video, I'm going to have a link below in the description to my request video where you can submit a request for a video for me to do in the future. If you like this video, click that thumbs up button, and if you are not subscribed to my channel, click on that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and check back here at Divinely Designed for more soapy videos. Ooh, and I have somebody at the door. Okay, bye everyone!